DLCs usually suck nowadays. Like, I'm not paying 15 bones for 2 missions and a skin. If I really wanted a skin, I would download some free mods for the game and not spend what is 2 times the minimum wage for a different spread of pixels on a character. But Horizon Frozen Wilds is one of those DLCs that's actually worth the time and money. It's basically the same game, but in Alaska. And looking at this beautiful, white, powdery landscape is just breathtaking. Unless you're a recovering cocaine addict, then maybe looking at this white, powdery landscape will remind you of some bad times. Or good times? Regardless, I had so much fun playing the last challenge that I want to continue in the DLC. So can I beat Horizon Frozen Wilds without any bows on Ultra Hard? Doing a separate video just for the DLC is a first for me, but Frozen Wilds feels more like a mini sequel than it does a DLC. It unlocks a new section of the map, about 1/5 the size of the vanilla map, a new story, more dangerous machines, new upgrades, and unique weapons. It's designed to be played right after the main questline, with it chronologically taking place right before the last mission of the vanilla game. So the machines here are as strong or stronger than the toughest machines in Zero Dawn. New weapons and a few gear upgrades to spice up the gameplay a bit, but overall it's still the same. There really aren't any new game mechanics or anything like that I have to explain, so doing the same challenge makes sense. By the way, if you haven't watched part 1 yet, please go do that first. It's Can I Beat Horizon Zero Dawns with No Bows on Ultra Hard. There's a link in the description, or you can find it in my channel, whatever works. The only change for me is the 3 new weapons I can use, a few new outfits, and the new machines I gotta fight. Don't worry, this is not gonna be nowhere near as long as the last video. Once again, I am sorry. But just to help pad the runtime a little bit, I decided I'm gonna go do the tough challenges and side missions in the vanilla game that I skipped before. Like fighting the strongest Thunderjaw in the game, Redmaw, or fighting a Rock Breaker, one out of the 4 giant machine types you can fight in game, but you don't come across in the main questline. So I thought I'd try fighting one now. Kinda feels cheap to not try doing it during the challenge. After doing some of these side quests, I stick with the DLC for the rest of the video, but if you rather just skip right to when the DLC starts, there's a timestamp on your screen now. Let's get started with the run.
If you want to know my honest opinion of you, you've always been...
Loaded back into my save, and as you can see, I'm wearing the Shield Weaver, an outfit I said I wasn't going to use in my last vid. I had got it after finishing the game. I played for a few hours not recording, just having fun with the game instead of the masochistic torture I usually do. And when I started the challenge again, I forgot to take it off. You can see during this fight why it's OP. It can just tank hits. It's why I don't want to use it, and after this fight, I took it off. These random people, or I guess corpses now, are goons hired by a rival hunter to keep me and my hunting lodge sponsor from killing Redmaw before him. Redmaw is a Thunderjaw that all the hunters have been trying to trophy kill for a long time, and anyone that does gets to become the leader of the lodge, so it's highly sought after. Hence, the other hunters trying to kill Aloy, just so she doesn't kill a machine before him. It didn't really matter if he hired those goons in the end anyways, because, well, he doesn't do so well against Redmaw.
Cease is holding his own. Was holding his own.
This fight is pretty easy, honestly. I think my fight with the corrupted Thunderjaw I did close to the end of part 1 was harder than this, and by like a lot. One of the reasons this was easier was because of the terrain. Like most games, if you're able to get up on something that the other enemy can't get up on, they just default to range attacks. This made it easier for me to fight him because now I don't have to worry about being crushed. I do not want to be stomped on by him. The only people I want pressing their fat feet on me are 6'7" girls that don't shave, not 40-ton metal dinosaurs. My hunting sponsor, was also fighting Redmaw with me. That definitely helped. I finished him off by freezing him with my rattler and throwing a few bombs at him. The next thing I want to do is see how many of the 15 hunting ground challenges I could do without a bow. I already did about half of them, so I went to the quest to check which ones I had left when I noticed one of them said I couldn't start the trial. This is because that challenge requires you to have a bow that can shoot fire arrows, and I don't have one at this point. The game gives you one when you start, but I had sold mine a long time ago in case the game tried to force me to use it. So I went to the nearest trader, bought a bow, and the red text underneath the challenge description disappeared. The first challenge I did was the parts wrangling trial. It's the one I couldn't do back in part 1 and had to stop to go grab the Terror Blaster. I forgot to come back and retry the trial because, well, my father dropped me a lot when I was a kid, and shoddy memory is one of the consequences of that. With the Terror Blaster, this challenge is now easy. Thankfully, the game doesn't care what weapon you use to shoot the parts off. As long as they're off, it counts. The rest of the trials were pretty easy too. At most, I had to retry 1 or 2 of them like 5 times to get it done, but they're still possible without a bow. One that was pretty hard was the one where I had to kill the Thunderjaw after overriding 2 Ravagers. This one wasn't hard because of what I had to do, it was hard because in order to get a Blazing Sun, it had to be done within 2 minutes and 40 seconds, which after overriding 2 machines is just not enough time to kill a Thunderjaw on Ultra Hard. After failing a few times, I found a pathing that gave me just enough time, and I mean just enough. I finished this at 2 minutes 39 seconds, 1 second short of the cutoff. Usually, I'm not proud when I finish this quick, but this time, I was excited. The last hunting grounds I went to did have a challenge I can't do without a bow. Now this challenge is actually very easy, just shoot the canisters on the back of Striders so they explode and damage other machines. but the problem is that this can only be done with a fire arrow. I think it's supposed to be because the arrows pierce the canister and ignite it, causing it to explode, because all my other fire weapons can't do this. So it sucks that I'm taking the L here, but I'm gonna call it. It seems that only 14 out of 15 hunting ground challenges are possible without the bow. I didn't do all the cauldrons in part 1. I skipped the last cauldron because it's supposed to be the hardest. It's the cauldron that unlocks the overrides for some of the strongest machines in the game, like the Thunderjaw. Sneaking in is easy, it's guarded by multiple stalkers, but I was able to override 2 of them, and when I went to go override the 3rd, I realized last minute that I forgot to let my override tool recharge all the way, so I had to fight it. I always forget about the refactory period. But thankfully, the friendly machines quickly JFK'd the hostile stalker for me. This cauldron is very short, and there's no machines except for a few watchers guarding the boss, and the boss itself. It's another Thunderjaw. Yay! But like all cauldrons, I get the opportunity to set up traps before setting it loose. I still had to volley a bunch of bombs at it. Even with all those blast wires, I still couldn't insta-kill it, but it did significantly reduce its health. I killed it within a minute. The last thing I wanted to do before starting the DLC, that stands for doing lots of cucking, was fight a rock breaker. Now, these don't actually spawn much in the wild, but while playing the game, I remembered passing by a location that had one. Problem was, it not only had one, but 2 rock breakers, and they spawn in the toughest corrupted zone of the game, so they are both high-level corrupted machines. They are going to be very strong. Tried to sneak up on them, but somehow they already knew where I was and tried to ambush me. Ran around trying to put up traps, but I felt like a moron doing this. Before I could set them up, they would just hit me or move away from them. Died a few seconds later, and that's when I realized the problem with fighting rock breakers. I suck, and they are strong. That's it. No, I'm joking. Well, half joking, the last statement is still true. Fighting these is going to be hard because of how they attack. They are very, very similar to Glithhawks. They're so fast that shooting low velocity bombs at them won't work, and they will avoid most tripwires just by being underground instead of being in the sky. And being underground was way worse for me. These things spent barely any time above ground, so the few seconds they were up and I could shoot them, I had to be quick, because within a few seconds they would be back under and there would be no way for me to shoot them or damage them. On top of worrying about dodging the attacks they do while surfaced, I would also have to keep moving or else I'd risk being obliterated by the second one as it ambushed me from underneath. The hardest part isn't the machine doing damage to me, it's being able to get damage in during these brief windows of opportunity. So I came up with a plan. I need to set up another giant ambush of traps and hope that it does enough damage to the rock breakers to instantly kill one of them, or maybe just get one of them very weak. On this one try it went well. Both rock breakers ran into the traps, one more than the other, and after spawning my bombs like the US Army on a Middle Eastern village, I killed one of the 2 rock breakers. I was rocked a few seconds later by the other one though. Get it? Like rocked, because they're rock breakers, get it? Can you tell I'm running out of jokes for this game at this point? Yeah, you know what? I didn't realize it at first, but it's hard to write 2 hours worth of material for the same thing. Some of these attempts didn't go well, some of them went better. Like this one where I set up another huge ambush and was able to kill one of the rock breakers, although he did die in a really weird way.
I got some kills from now.
Still got ass blasted by the other rock breaker though. Now at this point, I thought screw it, I'm just gonna need to use even more traps. I was already using a lot, but like I wasn't doing an excessive amount because I want to save some resources. But this was taking way too long, and I got the patience of a woman with this type of haircut standing in the line of a fast food restaurant. So I threw down 12 blast wires, 12 explosive traps, and 12 proximity bombs. Took over a minute and a half to set this up. Ready to attack the rock breaker, I popped the potion to give me 150 extra health and started attacking, but I was instantly killed. All that effort, gone in an instant. See, the rock breakers can kill me easily already, but using these traps means I also have to make sure I'm not close to them when they go off, or else I'll end up killing myself. It's what happened here. The rock breaker set off a bunch of traps, but I was too close, so it took out 3/4 of my health, and the last quarter was squashed by the rock breaker's stomach. I kept going to the strat. It was risky, almost killing myself each life, and it takes a while to set this up, but it's worth it, and I was able to get at least one of the 2 rock breakers killed somewhat consistently. I did this for a while, a good 30 minutes before I changed up my strat again. I decided to use my elemental sling. It's the same as the sling bomb, but instead of doing damage, it does one of 3 elemental effects. I mainly use it for the freeze so I can get as much damage as possible in the brief moments when the rock breakers are surfaced. This worked really well. Like this time when I went to set up some wires, froze the rock breaker, baited him into the wires, and he was killed by only a few of them. I didn't have to place like 20 traps to kill one enemy now. After like another 10 attempts, I finally did it. I set up some traps, one of the rock breakers set them off, so I started focusing in on that one. I froze it and then just started getting in lots of high damage while I could. Got overwhelmed, so I ran for cover in this arch and set up one more trap and then ran out so I wouldn't be attacked. But as I left, the rock breaker I had already gotten weak was baited into lunging at me over there, but all it hit was the wire. killing it. One of the two gone. Just like my parents, my mother kept the house in the divorce. Thankfully, I did this quicker than normal, so I still had lots of heals on me. The last rock breaker was easy. At this point, I'd spent so long fighting them that I learned their attack patterns well enough to know when and how to dodge them, so I just froze it when I could and I spammed bombs at it. It took about 2 minutes and 2 rounds of freezing, but right after it was frozen for the second time, I took out my rattler to get some more damage in on it before it burrowed underground, and I killed it right as it fully submerged itself. So yes, you can kill the rock breakers, and you can complete the toughest corrupted zone on ultra hard without a bow. Nothing else I want to try for the vanilla game for the challenge, so I spent 30 minutes grinding, killing grazers like normal. I sold my loot, stocked up with supplies, and got ready for the DLC.
Fortunately, brother, you have been clickbaited!
If you talk to some of the traders in the game, they'll tell you about new machines being sighted in the Cut, the Banuk tribe's territory. So you start heading in there to investigate. While making the climb, Silence, the BBC, that stands for Bad Blue Crook, calls Aloy to tell her she's wasting her time with the Banuk, but then she brings up a really interesting point. The Banuk shamans thread blue cables through their skin, just like someone we know. It's him. He does it. Hey, I said we're done with that joke in the last video. No, bad editor. So Silence doesn't want us going here because maybe we'll learn something about his past. Didn't follow the path and pulled to Skyrim, trying to find a quicker way up the mountain. Kinda worked, unlike all those hours I spent trying to get my horse to scale up the throat of the world before it turned perpendicular and threw me to my death. At the top of the mountain, I see a new machine spawn in. It's a Scorcher, like a giant fire wolf, and this one's demonic. Kinda like corrupted machines, but someone changed their LEDs to purple instead of red. Demonic machines are stronger than corrupted ones, which are stronger than normal ones. Just like my old cat, the Scorcher is weak to freeze damage, so I'll be using my Rattler with freeze bolts. Unlike my old cat, I found this out by using my focus, not by going outside after a snowstorm to find out that Miss Snowball had turned into Miss Icicle Corpse. The Scorcher is very aggressive with its attacks, lunging at me quickly from far, so I had to keep healing because this thing is hard to dodge. Without a bow, I can only fight in close ranges, and even if I use my sling bomb here, I would still be close enough that it could lunge at me and land a hit. I killed it on my first try, but this was just one machine, and it still almost killed me while I was using the best equipment in the vanilla game, and I was at level 51. Made to town where I met Errand, a man whose name is so close to the word burgundy, they dressed him in that color. He's a trader here, not a local, and he fills me in on what's going on here, but before he can fill Aloy in, giggity, we watch a ceremony for the dead. Something has been killing off the Banuk's best warriors, and whatever it is coming from the top of Thunder's drum, the mountain with all that scary smoke. They've tried going in there to stop the daemon, but they all got slaughtered. Aloy wants to figure out what's going on so she can learn more about the machines. It's not really because she wants to help them, that's just kind of like a plus on the side. Brady Man tells me to find Uwera, a name that is very hard to pronounce. She's a Banuk shaman. If I want to learn more about the daemon, I have to talk to her. The only person that knows her location is her assistant who's doing field work, so I head out to meet him. He's watching a control tower. It's a half flower, half hentai tentacle monster thingy. It will send out these pulses of what I assume is lean that repairs any machines in the area. Whereas assistant tells me he'll give me her location if I neutralize the tower first, so I start the fight. That's a lie. Looks like I spent a minute on my phone first. Wow, I am such a good streamer, huh? The control towers are a very unique machine. On top of being the only support unit or machine with the ability to heal others, it's also stationary, and there's only 2 ways to stop it. One is to attack the cooling rod that pops up on its back every 20-ish seconds, it's the only place it can be damaged, or 2, try to override it. I don't know why I didn't just override it from the start, but because of this indecisiveness here, it lost me the time I needed to get it done, and I was quickly bodied by the long legs moments later. I did realize that trying to attack the rods is going to be basically impossible unless I use my Rattler, and if I'm going to be that close, I might as well just override it at that point. Next try, I want to go fight the machines first so I can take out the control tower in peace, but that didn't go so great. Normally the blast wire can one-hit scrappers, but the demonic scrappers are so strong that they can tank 1 or 2 hits from my wire. And because the tower heals 20% of their health every 10 seconds, I gotta be quick with the kills, which is hard to do when you gotta dodge a bunch of machines, like the long legs, that killed me again. On my 3rd try, I just stealthed over to the tower and overrid it. A benefit from doing this over just killing the tower is the tower will now stun all machines within its heal radius once the override finishes. Would I finally be able to kill the long legs with this great advantage? No, I would not. Demonic machines are strong, man. I died again. On my next try, by placing some wires on a choke point near the tower, I was able to actually kill all the machines, including that annoying long legs, before I shut down the tower. Thankfully, its heals cannot bring back the dead. I tried putting Miss Icicle Corpse there, but she is still just a block of frozen cat, and after a bit of shooting, the control tower was defeated. As promised, the assistant gave me the location of Uwera. She's at the top of a mountain, and I must follow a secret path to get there. He tells me it's a hard journey, and as a reward, I should take some of the blue gleam found at the top. Blue Gleam is not the name for Avatar Cum, but rather a crystal used as currency for the special items in the DLC. The strongest weapons and outfits can only be bought with it, so I'll be trying to hoard up on it as I play the game. The path up to Aware is pretty easy, it's just some parkour and quick puzzles. There is one section where you have to fight 2 demonic stalkers in a cave, but I was able to ambush kill one of them with my blast wires, so the second one was easy to take out. Closer to the top, there's another control tower, and I get introduced to a new machine, the Frost Claw. Remember that cute little polar bear from Coca-Cola commercials? Well, after we destroyed its home and young through climate change, it's back for revenge. I don't know how I pulled this off. It might have been the lucky 4-leaf clover I keep wrapped up in my foreskin at all times, but for some reason the gods were looking down on me and let me override this tower right beside the bear without it noticing. I am the luckiest uncircumcised man on earth. While I was stunned, I made a run for the exit and was able to climb out, escaping my first fight with the Frostclaw. Grabbed my fossilized avatar just at the top and went inside a bunker. Listened to a voice note from the world's horniest man.
Every time she brushed by and I smelled her hair.
There's this little puzzle you gotta do to open another door. It's super easy though. At the end of the bunker, I meet Aware. She asked me to solve another puzzle for her, and after I do, a Death Star looking thingy appears. Oh, it's a light blue color? That must mean it's a boy, right? Whatever it is. It calls out for Aware before being taken over by the daemon, turning it purple, which, I don't know what that means. Like, blue is for boys, and pink is for girls, and pink is basically red, and blue and red make purple, so I guess whatever that was, it just got turned into a hermaphrodite? Right? Talk to Aurora, she tells me what's going on. Well, kind of. She, like most people in the tribes, doesn't really understand anything about technology, so she views this all as supernatural. Basically, one day she came to this bunker and found the spirit. The light blue Death Star 3, if you will. It's some sort of AI that sparked a good relationship with Aurora. At some point, the Death Star 3 was attacked by the daemon, and shortly after, the new rogue machine started appearing. Aurora knows that the spirit is located in the Thunder's Drum bunker facility, but when they tried to go there to fix it, everyone was murked. So now the leader of the Banuk refuses to let another expedition go in. So the only way for her to get passage into the Thunder's Drum is to become the new leader, so she could just give herself permission, which is basically cheating, but hey, whatever gets the job done. To become the new chieftain, I need to challenge the current one in a trial, but to do that, I first have to prove I'm eligible by completing tasks around the cut, killing bandits, completing a tall neck, doing the hunting grounds, and helping out locals. You don't actually have to do all of these to continue the story, you only need to do 2 out of the 4 requirements, but for the sake of the challenge, I want to do them all. Before leaving, Aware gives me a new weapon, the Storm Slinger, a gun that shoots rails of lightning, doing high damage and shock.
That's right, Zeus slept with his great-granddaughter.
The first task I want to do is completing the tall neck. Doing it first makes sense because it will reveal the rest of the map for me. This tall neck is different than the rest. After a night at Moe's tavern, he passed out on his walk home, freezing him into the side of the mountain. So I gotta repair it first. 3 parts are missing and all 3 can be found on nearby scabbing machines like scrappers or glithhawks. There wasn't really anywhere to set up blast wires in the sky this time, so I did a different strat against the hawks. Tied them down and overrid them. And if my override tool was still recharging, I would just go in for a critical hit. Got my first tall neck part off one of the birds. Second one was on a scrapper nearby. It was easy to get, but the scorcher next to them started attacking me and it bodied me fairly quickly. Wow. Knowing it was there now, on my second life, I set up a bunch of blast wires, making the scorcher easier to kill. And I actually killed the scrapper that had the last tall neck part with one of the wires I used to kill the scorcher. Installed the parts, the tall neck woke back up, and I climbed up it. Okay, next life, I climbed up the tall neck, revealing the map. Before starting the next task, I went to go check out what goods the Blue Gleam trader had to offer. Although the weapons he sells are the best in the game, they are all bows. So, like an extra large condom, they are useless to me. But the outfits he sells are also the best, so I'll probably just end up saving my Blue Gleam so I can use it on those. Next, I went to go clear out the bandit camp, but as I ran in close to the camp, some machines alerted the bandits and they started beefing. I snuck in, showed off my chiropractic skills by putting my spear in between the L1 and L2 vertebrae of this guard. Already maxed out on my gear from the main game, so this was easy. I had to keep moving, but I used some 5-head strats, like placing wires by the gate, running out of the camp, making the enemies follow me right into the wires. Haha, idiots. I also got lucky when this leader dropped to a lower level, letting me kill him instantly. Again, haha, idiots. This camp is special. Normally when you kill the last enemy, you automatically finish the mission, but that didn't happen. I get exploring, and in the very middle of the camp, there's a tower where 3 strong enemies come out. One of them is the camp leader, who has a lot more health than a normal leader. He's basically a mini-boss. Can you guys guess which one of the 3 enemies is the leader? That's right, it's the one that looks like a Mad Max character, killed the stormtrooper, and is now using Baby Yoda's blood as ammo. Killed 2 out of 3 with 1 wire and some blaze barrels. The other guy just had so much health that he wouldn't die. Even after hitting 4 wires, he still didn't know where I was somehow, so I went in for a stealth attack, but the game wouldn't let me. He does a lot of damage, but because his attacks are all just fire, I could pop a fire resist potion, making this easier. After a minute of fighting, he walked into 1 more wire and died. Got the fire forge from his body, it's a flamethrower weapon he was using. After clearing the camp, you can go up the tower in the middle for good loot, and also meet Opal, short for opium. The kid claims he's the new leader of the camp. Now I can't show you what I did here because violence against children is TOS on YouTube, but let's just say I'm back to being the camp leader. Skipping over my crimes against God, I made it to the hunting grounds to do the challenges. There are 3 trials like normal, but here one of the 3 is unavailable until I become chieftain, so I'll do that one later. The first trial took me 20 minutes. Yay! My Stormslinger was very weak and I need to complete this trial within 55 seconds to get a Blazing Sun, which is not enough time. All the enemies here are demonic, and there's a Sawtooth. It has a lot of health, making this almost impossible. Every time I got over the time limit, I would just stand there and let them kill me. Doing this was better than going to talk to the NPCs and resetting the mission, because this way my inventory would always reset to what it was before I started, meaning I could try this an infinite amount of times and never run out of supplies. Eventually, I got it done by tying down the Sawtooth underneath a log pile and shooting the log pile with my Stormslinger, killing it. This was great, because it killed the most aggressive enemy right away, which allowed me to focus on the others. Killed 4 of them and almost ran out of time because I had to reload, but I killed the last one with 2 seconds left. The next trial had me fight a bunch of enemies in waves throughout the course, but if I just ran to the next area, it would spawn the next wave with the previous wave of enemies still following me from behind. I still had to kill all the machines, but doing this made it easier because I was using my blastling and wire, both of which do splash damage. So more enemies on the field at once means more enemies to group up, meaning more damage done to multiple enemies with each shot. It did get kinda hectic near the end. I ran out of heals and only had 20 HP left, but I completed this trial with 30 seconds to spare on my first try. I just want to note again that using these very strong explosive weapons is only possible because of all the hours I spent grinding out Blaze killing grazers, both on camera and off camera. There's a bunch of footage I didn't record in between part 1 and part 2, and a large part of that is actually me just stocking up on Blaze. Now there's one more task I can do, it's helping a local, but I chose to skip it. I can't remember why, and now I'm thinking that I'm pretty sure I just forgot to do it. Once again, my father dropped me a lot. Aloy challenges At, and during the conversation you learn that Awera and At are actually brother and sister.
I expected better of you, sister.
Crisscross.
Yeah, it doesn't really change anything though. Aloy still has to beat him to become the leader to get to Thunder's Drum. The challenge for leadership is pretty easy. It's a mix of a parkour race and some hunting challenges. Run/climb to a designated area where another Bannook will tell you what animals you need to kill before you can advance to light a balloon marking your progress. Repeat this 3 times. First person to light the final balloon wins and becomes leader. Only tough parts are the fighting section. The first one wasn't too bad, and the second one had some stronger enemies. I died on my first try. I was playing aggressive here because this is supposed to be a race. It's like the Fast and Furious meets a hunting sim. Instead of outracing the cops in a supercar, I'm trying to be the most efficient at making an animal go extinct. Freeze bellowbacks are pretty easy to kill because they got these sacks full of blue liquid from the Tampax commercials, and you can just pop them, freezing it and every machine in the area, letting me do high damage. Lit the second balloon and head down to the third and final location, but something's wrong. At tells me the Bannook watching this area are missing. We won't have to search for them long though. 3 Daemonic Frostclaws spawn in. This isn't part of the challenge, obviously, but unlike the Frostclaw I saw before, I can't run away this time. Frostclaws are one of the strongest enemies in the game, and fighting 3 of them at once is insane. I didn't really know what else to do here, so I just started tethering them in place with my Rodecaster. With 3 of them fighting me at once, it would be impossible to get damage in. Doing this lets me take 1 or 2 of them out of the fight for a bit so I can focus on the third. This worked better than I thought it would, honestly. I think I just underestimated how effective the maxed out Rodecaster is. I was pinning down the machines quick. Like the Freeze Bellowbacks, if I burst the sacks of chill water on the bears, I'll send them into a freeze state, which is great because not only could I do high damage, but I could do it multiple times on each bear because they all had 3 separate sacks I could puncture. Kept throwing down blast wires and sling bombs, all while pinning down some of them in between. Was it going good? Except for when my controller would randomly disconnect mid-fight for a split second. That was not good. But that 4-leaf clover in my foreskin is doing wonders because somehow I didn't get killed when that happened, and it happened a few times. Finished off the last 2 by doing the same thing to both. Tied them up and then ran up real close, slung a bunch of sticky bombs on them as quickly as possible. Although At has been the one hindering my progress so far, he's still a good guy, and admits defeat, letting me become leader. He was only stopping the expeditions because he fears that they'll just end up with more death. He concedes to letting us go to Thunder's Drums, but asks if he can come too to protect his sister. I got a new outfit from this. This outfit regens health over time, so it will help me save on heals. Before you can only heal up to about 25% of your total health, now I can fully heal all the way over time. I also got the last of the new weapons. It's the Ice Rail. This is the best of the 3 for me because now I can do a bunch of damage while also freezing enemies.
A $15,000 Solid
Smoothie?
gold dildo.
Now at this point, I could just continue to do the last mission and finish the DLC story, but I want to do some more side missions, specifically ones that upgrade my gear. Each one of the 3 weapons I got, the fire one, the Zeus one, and the ice one, can all be upgraded to do more damage. Burgundy's daughter, Beige, is an engineer, and talking to her gives you 3 small side quests to upgrade each new weapon. They're all easy and require you to kill a specific machine for each part. Started off with the Thunderjaw. Nothing I haven't done before. It didn't take long. Tied it down, shot off its launcher, and then blasted it with it. Tied it down again, and did the same thing, but with the other disc launcher. Killed it a minute later with my Rattler. Killing it this way was great because I saved myself from using a large amount of blaze. The Fireball back was next. This literally took me 10 seconds. It dies after 3 blast wires. The Stormbird I thought was going to be really hard, but after realizing how good the Ropecaster was with the Frost Claws, I just relied on that to carry me instead of my non-existent fighting skills. The second the bird got close, I tied it down to the ground. I switched to my Freeze Rattler and shot it till it froze, tied down again before it could fly away, and began pelting on it. I just kept doing this until it died. Every time I tried to get up and fly, I would tie it down and start shooting it again. While tied down, the machines aren't able to attack me, so as long as it's just one machine, I can essentially put them in an infinite stun by continually tying them down. After a minute or so of doing this, the Stormbird made the same fate as the Dodo Bird. Handed all the parts and got the upgraded weapons. It makes each one stronger, moving it up 1 rarity level. For the Forge Fire and Ice Rail, it adds a second ammo type. For the Stormslinger, it greatly increases its damage, but doesn't add a second ammo type. The Stormslinger is actually pretty special. With each consecutive hit, you do more damage, and the upgraded version does a lot. Now, I don't know why the devs added this. Maybe it's because they realized they made this weapon too OP and had to balance it out. But if you use the new Stormslinger too much, it will overheat and start to damage you. And it will literally just kill you within seconds. It sucks. It's a very cool idea for a weapon, and the devs ruined it by making it kill the player for some reason. I don't know why they didn't just like lower the damage output if it was seriously that strong, but whatever. Another upgrade you can get in the DLC is a spear upgrade. Now in the base game you can't mod spear damage, but in the DLC, if you complete a side mission, you can, making the spear a lot stronger. I talked to the ice variant of the January 6th Shaman.
Cheeseburgers. Yeah. Hot dogs. Yeah.
Brazil. Hi, I'm Vanilla Ice, and I'm kicking.
He tells me I can find the upgrade in a bunker with a nest of metal birds, which scared me because I thought that meant I had to fight a bunch of Stormbirds or Glyphhawks. Lost all function of my brain while fast traveling there. Oh god. Thankfully, it's not machines. It's actually a hangar full of old military drones. You know, like the ones they use to bomb innocent foreigners in the COD games. In real life, all you gotta do is explore the cave for like 2 minutes to find the upgrade, and on the way out, you gotta fight 1 stalker. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. I want to try my new weapons out to see how good they work here. Seeming the stalkers are weak against shock, I used the Stormslinger, but look how quick I died. After 7 shots, the weapon depletes all my health, and I end up like a squirrel that tried to chew through a telephone wire. I want to try again, but this time with an outfit maxed out on shock resistance, thinking this would make it so I can use the weapon a lot longer before dying, but I died in the same amount of shots. So there's basically no point to me using this weapon ever. The Ice Rail, on the other hand, is great. I can use it to make my enemy enter the frozen state like my frozen Rattler bolts, but way faster, so it just saves me the time. You're probably wondering why I don't use the Forge Fire. It's actually a good weapon, but the reason I don't is because of how much blaze its ammo uses. I'd rather just save my blaze for my bombs and my blast wires. It's not worth it. Killed the Stalker, got completely buried by a Scorcher, and made my way back to the Shaman to get the spear upgrade. With the mods, my spear went from 35 damage per hit to 50. This was definitely worth the time. The only thing left that I want to do before finishing up the DLC was the last Hunting Grounds challenge, the one that wasn't available to me before because I wasn't chieftain yet, meaning that this is supposed to be extremely hard, harder than the challenge that took me 20 minutes before. It's almost the same as the second hunting challenge I did, but all the machines are way stronger. Instead of scrappers and log legs, it's demonic Scorchers and frost claws, and I gotta clear all 3 areas without dying in less than 4 minutes and 30 seconds. I started off fighting the Scorchers the same way I take out Thunderjaws, tie them down and tear off one of their components. Scorchers have a mine launcher on their backs, which is probably the strongest out of all the machine weapons I can use. I was able to shoot them a bit here, but I was lunged at a second later. Fighting 2 Scorchers is very hard, and without a bow I can't keep my distance, and these guys attack quick. 4 tries later, I finally killed both Scorchers without dying. But look at how long it took. Almost 2 minutes. That's like half of the allotted time for the whole challenge. These guys just have so much health, and each area in this challenge is only going to get harder, so I gotta be a lot quicker when fighting these 2. The next area is 2 Freeze Bellbacks, which is good news because they're easy to kill, but leave it to me to still get murked by them. I tried again, and I killed the Scorchers again. This time I used the log piles to my advantage. Went to one of their bodies and tore off the mine launcher so I can use it to kill Bellowbacks, but for some reason, they were spawn camping me this time. Both of them were right by the door, and they killed me pretty quick. Now an expert in tying things up like I do Shibari on the weekends, I was able to get Scorchers tethered right next to the log pile. I figured out the best way to do this wasn't by trying to tie them down based on where they were, it was by placing the spike that attaches into the ground where you want them to be tied up. After figuring this out, it was a lot easier to get machines placed exactly where I want them. I was able to kill both Scorchers in a minute, which was half the time it was taking me before. Shot off the mine launcher, then actually shot it off with my second try. Kind of embarrassing that I missed my first shot on a corpse that wasn't moving, but whatever. I was able to kill the Bellowbacks this time because they weren't spawn camping me anymore and the mine launcher just evaporated them. The last area is 2 demonic Frostclaws, and I wasn't too worried about this. A few missions ago I fought 3 Frostclaws at once, and the only difference here is the time limit, but because I cleared the other sections so fast, I had over 2 minutes to do this. I did the same thing I did when fighting the Frostclaws before. I would tie them up and then throw as many sticky bombs as I could on them while they were stunned. And it went well. I mean, I was efficient at doing it at this point in the DLC, and it didn't take long. So after half an hour, I finally finished the last hunting ground challenge. I thought doing this challenge would give me something really useful, but all it does is give you a one-of-a-kind weapon coil, which for me is not useful. It just doesn't really help me out, unfortunately. For my loadout, it's most effective on the elemental sling bong, but I don't really use that. Still, whatever. It's cool to know that you complete all the hunting ground challenges in the DLC without a bow. Before starting the last mission of the game, I did a lot more grinding for Blaze. I basically had run out all I had stockpiled, and I desperately needed to re-up on some before continuing.
Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're looking at 10 YouTubers who died too soon.
Head into Thunder's Drum where they do this whole ritual. They think it's spiritually opening the door somehow, when it's actually just the smoke causing the emergency exits to open. It shows how the spiritual tribes in this game built their beliefs around phenomenon they don't understand, even if the answer is simple. It doesn't matter because their complicated answer works just enough. Even if it was something simple, emergency door opening because of smoke, to them, making this whole complicated idea about it being some weird ritual smoke god, or I don't know, worked the same way, so who cares? Got to the first open area of the level, crushed this watcher by dropping all of Aloy's body weight on it. God, I wish that were me. Started planting wires. Somehow the scrapper walked underneath a few of them and also didn't see me when I was like right next to it. Set more wires and started to attack the enemies as they advanced. Was pretty easy with all the traps I set up. At the next spot, I gotta choose either going up or going down. 2 different paths. I can't see what's up top, but I know the bottom path has behemoths and scorchers, which I don't really want to deal with, so I tested my luck and headed up top. This area had a lot of grass, so you could just stealth through it. I made it about halfway through before being spotted, and once I did, I panicked. Didn't know what to do other than run up to the objective, and thankfully, you can just climb this wall and clear the section. Maybe if I was down below, I wouldn't have been able to skip this part, but up here, I can, so it's a win for me. Once again, the clover of 4 leaves underneath my skin of 4 is making me the luckiest man. Further in the bunker, we find an entrance into what looks like another cauldron. Tried to get in, but I was stopped, and then a demonic Thunderjaw spawns in. So one that's going to be way stronger than the corrupted one I fought near the end of the main campaign. Tied it down and shot off both of its launchers, grabbed them and started shooting it with it. Wasn't going great, better than normal, because At and his sister were damaging him, and like Errand, they can put machines into the frozen state, letting me do more damage. But before I could kill off the T-Rex, I cosplayed as the kid from Pet Sematary. One shot. On my second try, after doing the same thing, minus the dying and plus a lot of bomb throwing, I was able to kill the Thunderjaw. Chat wanted me to watch the Rise of the Beast trailers, which is just the Transformers movie with a metal Harambe in it.
Monkey.
Did find this super cool soundbite though.
Let them come.
I'm definitely gonna use this audio in my video.
Like this. Let them come.
In case you are wondering, I am aware that I have the maturity level of a 5th grader.
Come. 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 Come.
Inside the cauldron, we find it completely overrun by the daemon. The game shows this very subtly. If you look closely, you can see some hints of purple wiring throughout the structure. Jumped straight into a pool of lava like I'm a virgin sacrifice to some worldly deity. Began making my way through the cauldron. This place is supposed to be malfunctioning, so because of that, there are a bunch of hazardous obstacles in the way, like these balls of lean. I have to shoot them so I can move. I must have blacked out here for a second, because instead of using my cheap, easy to make rattler bolts to destroy this, I wasted a whole bomb on it. Nice. It's not like last time I played the final mission of the game I ran out of blaze, right? Haha. Went through a door that required all 3 of us to open, and then met Death Star 3, the Spirit, or Cyan, whatever you want to call it. It tells us that the daemon taking over the facility is Hephaestus, one of the subordinate functions of Gaia that was set free. So we gotta find a way to purge Hephaestus from Cyan as soon as possible. The next section has a ton of demonic machines patrolling the area, but instead of fighting them, I just stealthed my way to the exit. And by stealth, I don't mean that thing where you take your condom off without telling your partner. I mean sneaking forward like 50 meters before being caught and just booking it to the exit. Got there and tried to open the door, but it's the same as the other one I just went through and won't open unless all 3 of us are here. I had tried damaging it, hoping maybe that would work, but all I did was waste ammo again. Opened a bridge so my teammates could get across, but because they are already fighting the Scorchers, they won't move. I set up some traps on the other side of the bridge, but realized the machines can't cross these, or at least the Scorchers can't. This is useful to know, and I'll show you why in a second. Went up top, shut off their mine launchers with my Terror Blaster, and then hopped down to grab them. Was shooting them for less than 5 seconds before I was overwhelmed, but then I just ran across the bridge. With the range attack disabled, the only way they can damage me is by running all the way around to get to the other side, because they cannot cross that bridge. So I just kept doing this, shoot them with the mine launcher, wait till I got overwhelmed, cross the bridge to the other side to reset the Scorcher's positions, and repeat. It went great, I killed both of them fairly quickly, and I barely had to use any blaze, which was a huge plus. Opened the door and found Cyan again. It tells us we must hurry up because if we don't, this volcano is going to blow harder than I do in your mother. Did some more parkour. Did another puzzle thingy. Sign tells us we must purge the core down there, but to be careful because some elite units have been released. And as I got down there and shoved my blue head into the red circle, a new unit spawns. The strongest and largest of the DLC machines, the Fireclaw. It's huge. This thing has about double the health of a Frostclaw and the most explosive resistance of any machine, so my main method of attack is going to be equivalent to hurling peanuts at him. Actually, basically everything in my main repertoire of attacks is weak against it. If I try tying it down my rope caster, it could just rip off the wires before it's fully stunned, so unless I'm quick about it, I won't be able to do it. Like this clip. Look at how many wires it takes compared to a normal machine. I was about halfway through stunning it when it ripped almost all of them out. And if I try to freeze it, provided the fire unit is still intact, it can automatically thaw itself out. It does it here. I froze it, got like 5 seconds worth of damage in, and then it thawed out. Despite this thing being an absolute nightmare for this challenge, this is still probably my favorite machine in the whole game. Just fighting these guys is so much fun. They are scary, their attacks and movements are fluid, and they play into the archetype very well. It attacks like a bear, a very strong, evil, and on-fire bear, but still a bear. And compared to other large machines like Thunderjaws and Stormbirds, this thing is aggressive, and I love it, and I'm here for it. This feels more like a very tough Dark Souls boss, and less like a big lunky machine. And I want to make it clear, I don't think the other machines in this game fight bad at all. I just genuinely believe this is the first machine where they perfected it. I can't speak to the sequel because I haven't played it yet, but if machines are built more like this one in that game, then I'm on the edge of my seat pre-coming just thinking about playing it in the future. I think the game must have heard me having a good time and decided the fight was too easy, so it spawned in a control tower. That's right, during the hardest fight of the game, every 10 seconds, 10% of the Fireclaw's health will be regenerated, so I rolled through its attacks and went to override it. Even though I did this immediately and did it with no interruptions, it still healed the Fireclaw twice, so this thing was basically back at full health. It did get stunned by the overridden tower, so I did get a good amount of damage in and froze it again. This time, the Fireclaw wasn't able to thaw itself out, because at some point during this fight, I must have destroyed its fire unit. Fought for another few minutes, it was so hard to dodge its attacks, I was quickly depleting all my health potions. My teammates were a good help. I honestly don't know how much damage they did, but they were able to knock down the machine every once in a while, which was a big advantage. Another tower spawned in, and I went to go override it right away, but I somehow got stuck on the back of it. So it healed the Fireclaw 3 times before it was disabled. Great. Froze it again while it was stunned, did another large amount of damage while it was in the state, and after a few more minutes of trap placing and bomb throwing, I killed the Fireclaw, the last enemy of the DLC, and on my first try. We go to fully purge the cauldron of Hephaestus, but something goes wrong. Aura ends up sacrificing herself to free Cyan. Me and At make our escape. He pulls a bomb out of thin air. We pop out of the hole in the mountain just like Aloy did when she was born, and I finished Horizon Frozen Wilds with no bows on ultra hard. That was fun. Including all the extra stuff I did at the beginning, it took me 11 hours, 35 minutes, and 15 seconds to beat the DLC, and this time with no fails. So yeah, you can beat Horizon Frozen Dials with no bows on Ultra Hard. There are a few more story beats at the end of that mission. You learn that Cyan is an AI separate from Project Zero Dawn, which is why there's no record of it in the main game. It was created to oversee and maintain Project Firebreak, a facility with the operation of keeping the Yellowstone volcano, Thunder's drum, from erupting and ending the world. At becomes Cyan's friend, where they can reminisce about Aurea together. Silence, like always, is a little bitch.
This discussion is concluded.
He throws a fit when he finds out you're snooping around about him in the Banuk tribe, which, by the way, this DLC didn't really reveal anything about his past. You learned that he tricked the Banuk into telling him where they kept some stash of goods before disappearing again. Let me know in the comments if you guys liked this video on the DLC. I'm thinking that if you guys like it and it's a good lengthy DLC, I might record and create a second video extending the challenge for future games, just like I did for this one. For example, I just finished the playthrough of Control, and right now I'm streaming myself playing the DLC. Maybe I'll make a second video if my Control video does well and you guys like this one. You know, whatever. As always, like and sub if you enjoyed the video. Follow me on Twitch to watch me record these challenges live, and thanks again for watching. Have a good day, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Or not, because like I can't actually see you, you know? I'm overthinking this outro.
Come.